Hi there, welcome to the Dietary Restriction Kitchen. I'm Nat Ryan. Today in the kitchen, we're going to do another quick and healthy home cooked meal that you can do anytime, and it's very economical, and it's also meatless. So it is a vegetarian meal, but it's very easy to add some meat to it if you want, like chicken or ground chicken or turkey or anything like that. You could do that as well. Fully cooked chicken, fully cooked ground chicken or turkey or anything of that nature. But if you want to have like a meatless Monday, this works great. And it is chickpeas and vegetables in a dairy-free butter sauce. So no dairy, there's no gluten, right? And if you have to be nightshade free, you can use other ingredients as well, and I will let you know about those as we go along. Okay, so the first thing you need for obviously what we're going to call it butter-free chickpeas and vegetables, what you need first, of course, is chickpeas. The easiest way, you can use dried and reconstitute them and cook them up, or you could just use a good sized can of chickpeas, and you're going to drain and rinse them before you put them in. We're going to need an onion cut up. Going to need a stalk or two of celery, so not the whole thing, but just a stalk or two. We're going to need about a cup of vegetables. Now I'm using frozen vegetables. They could be from canned, again, drained before you put them in. It could be anything you like. I'm using peas and carrots today. It could be corn if you can eat corn. It could be green beans. It could be fresh vegetables that you cut up. It could be anything like that. We're going to need some broth. I'm using a vegetable broth. If you want, you can use a chicken broth. Use what kind of broth you like. We're going to have, it's a creamy sauce, so we're going to use some coconut milk. I've got light coconut milk, so we're going to use a bit of that. And this is what thickens it. Some tomato paste, probably about a half of a can, but maybe up to the full can. If you cannot do nightshades, don't use this, right? Because tomatoes are nightshades. If you have to be nightshade free, you can use some mashed sweet potato, right? Because that'll thicken it. Or some mashed roasted butternut squash, because that will do it too. And of course you need some rice. Usually serve it on rice, so I've already got some cooked rice. So if you have a bag of that rice that you can kind of do up in the, cook up in the microwave, really works great. It's fast, it's easy, and it's delicious. Jasmine rice, because that's really good. And you're going to need some spices. Okay, now I've got spices like garam masala, ground coriander, all kinds of things that you can put in. And I have that mixture already mixed up with salt and everything in the one thing. If you don't have that, all those different kinds of things, what you can do is just have curry, like curry powder, right? So you're just standard curry powder, add that little bit of that, maybe half to a teaspoon of that, depending on how strong you want it. You can add a little bit of turmeric. Okay, that brings up the yellowy color. Okay. And if you can't have nightshades, you can use a little bit of chili powder, right, to bring up that heat if you like. You don't have to. Just be careful if you have to be nightshade free, especially even with the curry powder blend, because some of that sometimes does have nightshades in the form of peppers, right? So that they've ground up and done. So just be careful of that. I will link to a prior video that I made butter-free butter chicken, probably up top here, and going to be either in the description for this video or down below look for it in the comments, on the top of the comments. So let's get started and making it up really quick and easy. Let's go. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is take a good big skillet. I'm using a cast iron, and we're going to heat up our coconut oil. And then once that coconut oil is melted up in there and heated, we're going to add our chopped up celery. And we're going to give that a little bit of stir and let that start to soften. And then once it's nice and softened, we're going to add some chopped onion. So that's my little trick, using a piece of parchment paper to keep my cutting board from getting stinky. But there, so we've added the chopped up onion, and we'll break it up a little bit, give it a bit of a stir, and we'll get those softened. And now after a few minutes after they've been softened, what we're going to do is add our chickpeas. Now those are drained and rinsed canned chickpeas. You could use dried chickpeas, if you reconstituted them and cooked them up on the stove, you could use that as well. But this is the easier way of doing it. And then we're going to add our vegetables, our 2 cups of vegetables, whether fresh or frozen. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to stir that all in. Okay. Oh, I got a little stem of a pea, I think, in there. So I picked it out. Okay. So mix that all up good. Sorry. And we're going to mix that up and just make sure we break up any little frozen bits. If you're using frozen vegetables like I am today, then what you would do is you would make sure that you don't got little chunks of frozen vegetables all stuck together. And then we're going to grab our broth. Now that could be either vegetable broth in my case, or you could also use chicken broth if you wanted to do that. So any kind of broth will do, really. But yes, my favorite is to use and stick with the veggies and just use a veggie broth. But now the spices. So I showed you my spice blend. Like I say, you could just simplify the spice blend. As I mentioned earlier, you're going to add your spices, your herbs and spices in at this point into the sauce. Make sure it gets mixed up in there very well. And you're going to, whoop, got an escape of a piece of onion there. Okay. And then we're just going to make sure that gets mixed up in the broth really well. So, and we're going to start to simmer that a little bit. It's going to get a little bit warmer. Then we're going to add our coconut milk, and that's a cup of light coconut milk. You could use full fat coconut milk. You could even use coconut cream. That's going to be very rich if you do that, but you could certainly make it richer, creamier in that way if you want to. I find it plenty creamy this way, but you do you. If you find like, oh, I like it to be thicker, creamier sauce, then you definitely do it your way. You could also use an oat milk if you wanted to. That's another option as well. And then we're going to add our tomato paste. Now, earlier I said about a half of a can of this, but I think as we're going to do this, we're going to pretty much add the whole can, because this is a big pan of, well, food, and this is a very big skillet, and I think we're going to need, and it's quite liquidy, the sauce, so I want to thicken it up really quite a lot. So I'm going to use pretty much the whole can of tomato paste. Again, if you don't want the tomato, or you can't eat tomatoes, you can't do that, because of your dietary restrictions, you can use pureed butternut squash, roasted butternut squash, or mashed sweet potato. No problem. It will make the sauce less red. And if you use those, it will be more yellowy instead of reddish, sort of, orangey red, like we have it right now. And so we're going to do that, and we're going to let that bubble up, get it mixed up really good. And there we go. Now it's like bubbling away like crazy. And it is done. And there you have it. On rice, I put in a bowl because it is quite saucy. And that will feed, oh gosh, that could feed definitely 4 people. I mean, yeah. And you could, like I say, you could stretch that. You could put some more meat in it, like a chicken, already pre-cooked chicken. If you wanted to, you could brown some ground chicken or turkey, which is cheaper, at least where I am, than ground beef or anything. And then add the chickpeas, do the rest of it same, and it will really, really stretch this. It's very saucy. You're going to have a lot of stretchability with this. If you wanted to double the recipe, you just double everything, including the chickpeas, or, half chickpeas and half meat, So there's a variety of ways to do it. It's really delicious. It's sort of Indian inspired. I know that Indian cuisine is very delicious, and the things that they use to spice it up is a lot of freshly ground things. So this is kind of more inspired. We'll call it that. But I hope you give it a try. I think you're going to like it. And you can cook up a meal like this inside of 15 minutes. Easy. Really easy. So I'm thankful that you came and stopped by today. And thanks for stopping by. And we'll see you next time on the Dietary Restriction Kitchen. I'm just really hungry after a long day at work. And so this smells great and it's distracting me. So I hope to see you again here at the Dietary Restriction Kitchen. Thanks for stopping by. Bye for now.